Hey friends, Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Jobu, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, well, you know this doesn't work. Let's get open for business here. Whew. Let me get Jobu a refill to start this out. This is um, this is one of those tough ones to talk about. In fact, I'm going to get a little refill here because this is one of those very, very sensitive subjects that is very difficult to talk about. And you have to ride the fence when you're dealing with something like this. But this is one of those times that we haven't had a lot to cheer about with the Cowboys in recent history. But this is one of those times that I'm glad that something happened. Um, the Cowboys stayed over in Washington and had dinner at the Natural History Museum, great museum. In fact, all the Smithsonian museums are great. In fact, if you go to some of the museums, you won't realize it, but you'll see in some of the work and stuff that I've done. I've worked at the Air and Space Museum, I've worked at the American Indian Museum, the African American Museum, the Portrait Gallery, Smithsonian Castle. And if you ever have time and the opportunity, you should go through American History Museum too and see these museums because there's great, great things. Stackler. And I think, which one did I miss? There's another one there. There's a couple. I've worked in a lot of them doing custom work and stuff. Um, but they went to the African American Museum, and that's something that I think everybody, I don't care if you're black, white, green, yellow, or whatever, everybody should go through because our history is our history. You shouldn't change it. You shouldn't sugarcoat it. You should learn from it. Because if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. And I'm telling you, going to the African American Museum is life changing. When you go, you need to go early because the whole museum, most of it's actually underground. And the building is built like a timeline. And you go down this elevator, and the elevator is like a timeline going down to 1400. And as you go through and you start seeing some of the things you see, when you see baby shackles that are literally this big for babies that were born on the slave ships, then you start to realize that this is kind of messed up. So Jason Garrett said, um, he said the team was blown away by what they saw at the museum, which chronicles the history and impact of African Americans um, in this country from slavery to the present day. It had Garrett going from "Wow, we really did that" to hearing "We shall overcome" in our head. Start when you're going down through the whole history beginning at 1400, Garrett said. A lot of talk on slavery, a lot of stuff on slavery I didn't know about. And I think a lot of people don't know. And that's where that museum actually will show you. And if you go, understand it's hard. It's very emotional when you start going down through there. Like I said, you start seeing the shackles. When you see Emmett Till, and understand this has happened here, you can feel the emotion of it. So many amazing stories of courage that were so inspirational. I think a lot of our guys felt that. In the end, it was great stuff on the impacts on sports and entertainment. It becomes an uplifting experience, just the way they set up the whole thing. It was very somber. It's depressing. It's like, did we really do this? And you work your way up to like, wow, just this we shall overcome thing that kept resonating. I kept hearing that over and over again in my mind. We shall have a lot of work to do, and I think everybody recognizes it was a special deal. The Cowboys spent 2 hours at the museum and then went on to the Lincoln Memorial and took a team picture before returning to Dallas. The experience was unique, Garrett said. It was something that, since it opened, I wanted to do. I've seen so many great stories about it. A number of players felt all the way up. To have the logistics to work out where we could do it after the game up in Washington, leading into the bye, I thought it was a really good experience. It was fun to have that opportunity as a team to do it. Guys got a lot out of it. They enjoyed. They are inspired by it. And we went over to the Lincoln Memorial and took that team picture afterward. It was very inspiring as well. I thought it was a great experience for our whole team. Um, yeah. You know what this reminds me of? You know, when you see a movie, they always say based on a real story. Okay, that could mean that there was a person with this name and something happened and the movie can be totally different. But to remember the movie, remember the Titans. I was in elementary school when that movie actually took place. And I remember Coach Boone because we played against him because I went to Madison High School. T.C. Williams was Alexandria. I was in Vienna. Um, but you'll remember in the movie where there was all the racial divide in it. You know, the black kids didn't like the white kids. The white kids didn't like the black kids. And he got them up early in the morning, 5 a.m. They're out running through the woods in Pennsylvania. And they come up to Cemetery Ridge, which is a historic spot on the Gettysburg battlefield. It's where Pickett made his last charge, where literally the Civil War, the beginning of the end, started. And it's where Lincoln ended up giving his Gettysburg Address. And basically, he used that moment, that spot, to try and bring them together, to understand what you're fighting about in things are minor to what is really the real picture. I'm hoping that this can be a defining moment where the team can start coming together, healing, and be inspired. Because as you go through this museum, and like I said, it's when you're thinking about the anthem protests, it was never ever about disrespecting the military. What it was about is wanting to be part of the American dream. One of the things that really hit home in that museum, when you first start out, you go down the elevator and everything, you start seeing the beginning of slavery and things, and then you'll come to basically the birth of the United States, when we broke away from England. And you'll see Thomas Jefferson. You'll see him there, and you'll see, you know, we the people and all that, all the words up on the wall, big and huge. You see a statue of Thomas Jefferson and some of the other founding fathers and everything else. And behind them, you see all these bricks, just bricks stacked up. When you walk around the other side of it, you see a name on each one of the bricks. It's like 250 bricks or so. And each one of those bricks were for the slaves he owned. Now, what we're always taught in school is, oh, well, he put in his will, slaves are going to be free when he died. But in fact, that's not what happened. What actually happened is he lived a very wealthy life and was deep in debt. And so when he died, to pay off his debts, they sold his property. So all of his slaves were broken up and sold off. That's American history. It's not what they don't teach you. This part, let me warn you guys, this part may be a little bit more sensitive. And this is going to be the last part that I want to talk about. This is Emmett Till. You'll see his casket in the museum. You're not allowed to photograph it and things. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old who lived in Chicago, and his mother moved to Mississippi. He was in a store, and a white lady had said, "That boy whistled at me." That night, two men came to the family's house carrying guns and said, "We want to talk to him." They took him off, and they never saw him alive again. A couple of days later, they found his body tied to a cotton gin fan and thrown into the river. The police ended up taking the body, sent it to the coroner. They put him in the casket, and they sent him back to Chicago with notification, do not open the casket. No viewings. His mother said, I want to see what they did to my baby. She said, and you'll see in the museum the video of her before she died, telling the whole story. And she said she started by looking at his feet and working her way up till finally to his head. That was completely beat, unrecognizable. So the mortician said, let me fix him up for the funeral. And she said, no, I want the world to see what they did to my baby. And they had an open casket for him. And it was right after this that Rosa Parks said enough. And she decided, I'm not sitting in the back of the bus. And that was the beginning of the civil rights movement. Turned out, he never whistled at her. The two men who did this to him were tried and found not guilty. A year later, they actually got paid to tell the whole story and wrote a book. So, I love America. My ancestors, some of them were original people from here, Indians. Some of them were Africans that were brought to this country. Some of my ancestors are Irish, and who knows what else I am. I'm an American mutt. But this is the kind of thing that my father grew up with. And when I was born, as a black person, you could not marry a white person. In 1970, when I went to school, I was the first class integrated. So as we see things that go on now, you have to understand this is the kind of thing that's been going on. And I didn't mean to go into a real deep emotional speech, but I'm very, very proud that our team went there. And I wish that every single American would go. Our country is so divided that you can't have a conversation about anything. Everything is, if you don't agree with me, we need to fight. I want to stomp on you. I want to kick your ass. But that's not the America that this country was built to be. We should be able to disagree without having to fight. We should be able to talk out and work out differences. Because this country is so much better together than apart. This is to all you guys out there that don't see me as a black man, a cowboy fan, or anything else. You just see me as a person. Because that's how I see each and everybody and judge them on their own merits, their own shortcomings, and what they have in their heart. I'll see you guys soon.